and then I can provide you with some of the sample passages that will be an assignment, and I'll be asking you people to make the presse. So let's discuss presse writing. That what is presse writing? There are other two documents that I have uploaded. One is like both of them are important to read, right? So if you have time, please give it a reading. Both of these documents are very helpful in understanding, because you will understand that what is presse writing. I'll be taking some of the points from these documents that but let me discuss in my own way. Um, right. So this document says, if I'm sharing the screen, can you see?
Yes, ma'am.
Please say yes
Yes,
or no.
yes, yes.
So this is just one document that I have taken from an academy, from their official site. I just like the way they have explained it, that what is actually a presse. So normally when we think about a presse, we think that it is a summary. So uh, though both of them are the same, like when we say make a summary or make a presse, both of them are same, because it's like condensing a passage to 1/3 or 1/4 of its original passage. But writing a presse and writing a summary, they are two different things actually, right? Though both of these words we use them as synonyms for one another, but while writing a presse and while writing a summary, both of them are a bit different. uh, and you will see it, that how can you write a summary. For summary writing, you might have seen, you can also add that the writer says in this particular passage, the writer says this thing or that thing, or and then you start with this summarizing कि इस passage में ये बात है और ये writer ये कहते हैं, ठीक है. But writing a presse, you have to be the writer yourself at that time. Okay, so you will see that how can you become a writer at that time. ऐसा लगता है जैसे that was your original passage and you have condensed it, right? So you cannot add these words that the writer in this particular passage says this or that, or things like that. So summary is basically when you condense a passage, but it can be your own wordings, or you can also add such words that the writer says or the writer is of the opinion. ये बात आप कर सकते हैं. But while writing a presse, it's actually you cannot add such things. You have to write the presse as if you are the writer at that time, but you condense it in some very precise wording or very concise wording. So let me tell you, one thing. I copied this passage from Nova, their official page, Nova Academy के official page से मैंने copy किया. Why? Because I just like the definition that they have provided, right? So over here, if you see in the third paragraph, according to Professor Mazhar Saeed Mazhar, CEO of Nova CSS Academy, a presse is like a miniature portrait of the passage, right? It's actually a miniature portrait of the passage. So if you see the globe, आप globe की शक्ल को देखते हैं ना, so that globe is it shows the whole world, जिसमें countries भी हैं, cities भी हैं, and the whole पूरा डिटेल है. But it's actually it's not the whole world, लेकिन ये एक but this is a miniature. आप इससे पूरी जो दुनिया है, उसके सारे ममालिक और सारी जितने भी डिटेल्स है जोग्राफिकल, वो आप वहाँ से ले सकते हैं. सी आप उसको हाथ में भी ले सकते हैं. That's just a picture or a portrait. So the same is the case with the presse. That presse is actually a portrait of the passage. ठीक है, आप एक पोर्ट्रेट बनाते हैं, उसका एक पिक्चर बनाते हैं. इट्स लाइक अ ग्लोब जिसमें आप पूरी दुनिया देखते हैं, लेकिन वो एक पोर्ट्रेट है, एक a miniature है. ठीक है. It retains the absolute essential points accompanied with the mood and tone of the author, you see, you have to take the same mood and tone of the author of the passage. Like you cannot just make it in your own words. You cannot say that the writer says or is, because you just change the mood and the tone of the author of the passage, right? The three prerequisites are as follows. There are three important things that you have to keep in your mind, and they are: the first thing is that one needs to convey the general idea of the argument with absolute clarity. बात जो जो बहुत ज़रूरी बात है, it's clarity. आपका जितना भी आप vocabulary झाड़ने की कोशिश करें, but clarity is at the best, right? You have to be clear in your points, and you have to make sure that you are clear to the reader as well. So the second thing that you need to do is to make sure that all the important points of the original passage are included in the précis. So précis, it doesn't mean that you have to make it precise or condensed, but you cannot just forget this idea that it it should take or carry the complete information. आप उसमें से एक information या एक sentence आप हटा नहीं सकते. Like you have to take all the ideas and carry all the ideas that was there in the original passage, लेकिन आप उसको condense करते हैं, right? Lastly, make sure that the language of the précis is clear, crisp, and concise, and follows the rule for correct diction, right? So the diction or the choice of the words, that should be correct, clarity should be there, or all the ideas or the important points of the original passage must be included. So you see, I just wanted to show you that there is a very important definition that is provided by these people, that précis is a miniature portrait of the passage. It's just like a copy picture, a picture of the same passage. ठीक है, आप बिल्कुल वही है. As if you are drawing, if you are given a picture और आप उसको draw करते हैं, but you need not to draw an extra line over there, because you just I mean, like you reshape the whole structure with just an extra line. तो उसमें extra line की ज़रूरत नहीं है. जैसे हम कहते हैं कि the writer says, or the writer is of the opinion, or writer इसमें ये कहता है, things like that. These are actually the extra lines that we should not draw. So it's a portrait of the passage. It retains the absolute essential points accompanied with the mood and tone of the author of the passage. ये जो mood और tone की बात है, let me make a précis for you people from the sample passages that I have uploaded, and you will see that I'll be taking the same mood and tone of the author of the passage. ठीक है? So these are some of the points that I wanted to show it to you. एक दूसरी बात जो मैं आप लोगों को कह रही थी, that it's actually, there is a difference in writing a précis and a summary, is that the following are some of the things that should not be the part or the reflection of the précis. Simply a summary of the passage. The précis is not only simply a summary of the passage. ठीक है? So इससे पता चलता है कि there is the précis writing is a bit different from the summary, right? Summary is actually when you start reading the passage, you summarize it and you make points for yourself. You write it on another page and you just remove the original passage. You go and read the points that you have written and you make the précis. I'll tell you that how can you do that. Simply an abstract of the passage. इस सिर्फ abstract भी नहीं है. Abstract हम कब लिखते हैं? Summary और abstract में भी फिर difference है. Summary are actually जब आप अपने अल्फाज में लिखते हैं, लेकिन you do not take the same mood and tone of the passage. Abstract क्या है? Abstract is actually ये भी एक you see, you write the abstract in the start of the paper. जब आप papers लिखेंगे, inshallah, when you will reach your 7th semester or 8th semester, or maybe like in the final, you will be writing papers and you will be writing reports. ठीक है? जो वो आप report लिखते हैं, it can be a very long report. ठीक है? तो उससे पहले आप executive summary लिखते हैं या abstract लिखते हैं in the start of the report. और उस abstract में आप क्या लिखते हैं? आप लिखते हैं कि in this particular report, I have analyzed this issue and I have reached to these results with the help of using these instruments instruments or computer or software, or I have used these hardwares and softwares. ठीक है, so that abstract is actually telling the reader the whole story about the stuff that you have written or about the report that you have written. ठीक है. तो वो जो I'm sorry. Let me get some. Right? So आप लोग मुझे सुन रहे हैं?
Yes, ma'am. जी मैम.
प्लीज से यस और नो. और अगर बीच में से आपको समझ नहीं आती तो प्लीज आस्क अ क्वेश्चन, क्योंकि बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है ये टॉपिक, इसलिए मैं आप लोगों को कह रही हूँ कि जो भी अगर क्वेश्चन हो तो आप या क्वेश्चन लिखिए अपने पास, फिर लास्ट में मुझसे पूछिए या फिर मुझे रोके. ठीक है. सो इट्स नॉट सिंपली एन एब्स्ट्रैक्ट ऑफ द पैसेज. तो एब्स्ट्रैक्ट जैसे मैंने आप लोगों को बताया कि abstract is actually when we write a long paper or a report, or it can be a short paper as well. आप लोग को जो term papers दिए जाते हैं, आपको कहते हैं कि इस चीज़ पे रिसर्च करके फिर आप रिपोर्ट लिखें, तो हम उसको पेपर्स भी लिख सकते हैं, कह सकते हैं. ठीक है. सो इन फॉर दोज रिपोर्ट्स आप उस एब्स्ट्रैक्ट में लिखते हैं कि I have analyzed this issue and used these softwares and have reached to this result. So actually it is giving an insight to the whole paper. ठीक है. रीडर के लिए आसान बन जाता है कि एब्स्ट्रैक्ट में आप शो करते हैं कि दैट you have what you have done actually in this particular report. ठीक है. So it's not only an abstract of the passage, an outline of the passage. It's not only an outline that you will write few sentences and that's a press. It's not a mere selection of a few important sentences from a passage, right? So it's not only the few important sentences from a passage that you can take while reading. Okay, you can do all these things while making a essay, but actually it's not those things. Okay, you have to combine the summary, the abstract, the outline, few points, right? And then you have to think on those things and you have to make a essay. And you will see how would you do it. A collection of disconnected facts and statements, like there shouldn't be any disconnection between the ideas, right? So you have to see that what is the tone and the mood of the writer. You have to do, or you have to go with the same arrangement of the ideas. It doesn't matter अगर आपके आइडियाज आगे पीछे होते हैं. फॉर एग्जाम्पल अगर आपका प्रेस ऐसा है कि उसमें आप आगे पीछे कर सकते हैं, बट इट्स like when start with the first idea and the second idea and the third idea, and you can arrange those ideas, you can shuffle them accordingly. अगर आप समझते हैं कि now if you can bring coherence and unity in the writing, you can shuffle those ideas, लेकिन वो सारे ideas intact होने चाहिए. ठीक है. Now, some of the don'ts of the writing the essay, there are some rules that you can read from this passage that have brevity and clarity. Brief होना चाहिए. Reproduction of the important sentences कैसे होने चाहिए. ठीक. The sentence of the original passage cannot be used for essay writing. Essay writing is an art of remodeling of the sentences without affecting main theme of the original passage. So it's actually you remodel the sentences. अगर हम लोग कहते हैं ना कि आप अगर ओरिजिनल पैसेज के सेंटेंसेस भी आप उठा सकते हैं, ठीक है, आप उसमें से कोई लफ्ज जो है आप उठा सकते हैं, बट यू कैन नॉट टेक द सेम सेंटेंस बिकॉज इट्स द सेम, it's like copying the same thing. You have to remodel them. It's actually a game of the words or a game of the language, ठीक है, that you can remodel them sentences without affecting the main theme of the original. Have brevity and clarity. There are like use your own language, avoid direct speech and use indirect speech, inclusion of statistical information. आप कैसे कर सकते हैं? Observe a proportion. No comments but conclusion. ठीक है, आप उसमें से comments नहीं कर सकते. For example, आप ये नहीं कह सकते कि in the conclusion or concluding the passage I would say. आप ये नहीं कह सकते, कमेंट्स आपने नहीं करने, बट कंक्लूजन आपने लिखना है, ठीक है, 1/3 ऑफ द ओरिजिनल पैसेज. और देर आर सो मेनी अदर थिंग्स दैट यू कैन फाइंड आउट from while reading these documents that I have uploaded. अगर आप टाइम आपको मिले तो प्लीज डू रीड, गिव इट अ रीडिंग, बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, इससे आप बहुत कुछ लर्न कर सकते हैं. नाउ right, so as I'm discussing pressure writing, actually pressure writing, there are two methods uh, of writing pressure, but I will discuss the steps actually, that how can you, in some of the steps we can have those methods. For example, there are two important methods that we can write pressure with, and they are deletion method and retention method, right? Deletion method is that method when we start, when a passage is given to us and we start reading the passage and we understand the passage as a whole, and then we give it a second reading and we see that there are some phrases that are not important, and they are the illustrations and examples and references and uh, things like that. So you go for the deleting those information like the illustrations and examples and references, और अब सारी चीजें आप डिलीट करते हैं, ठीक है, बाकी रह जाता है आपका मेन थीम, राइट. सो द इम्पोर्टेंट पॉइंट्स इज लेफ्ट आउट, एंड देन जब आप उसको क्रॉस करते हैं एंड व्हेन यू गिव इट अ थर्ड रीडिंग, यू हैव ओनली दोज पॉइंट्स जिस पे आप समरी लिख सकते हैं. यू कैन राइट दोज sentences in your own words and you make a pressay actually. So this is deletion method. Retention method is that method. It's deletion method is actually a very average method. Everybody do it. Everybody does it, and they go for such this method because it's easy as well, and it's like an average method, right? But retention method is done by those people who are very critical readers, right? What they do in the retention method when they start reading, the first reason is actually when you go for the understanding of the meaning of the passage as a whole. ठीक है, आप मतलब as a whole passage का क्या मतलब है? So that's the first reading you do it in both the methods. In the second reading, in the retention method, you write some of the important points for you on another page, okay, and then you remove the original passage. In the third reading, you keep on thinking that what is the important, is there any important idea left out, and then you make another point and write on the paper that you have at that time. Sometimes it's not necessary that you start writing on a paper, the points on a paper. You can just draft it in your mind, okay? And you retain that idea. You remove the original passage from your eyes and start writing in your own words. But actually, it is done by those people who are very quick, and they're very logical, and they're very critical readers, right? And they think critically, right? So they can go for the retention method, and it's a very effective method. It's a very effective one. For example, if there are 10 marks, so they can get 9 or 8, or they can get a 0. In the retention method, ये आर या पार वाला मसला है, ठीक है? So या तो आप you get good marks, right, or impression as well. और या फिर आप जीरो पे आते हैं. In the deletion method, it's an average one. You can, for example, if there are 10 marks, you can get 5 or 6 or easily, right? But इसमें zero का chance नहीं है. In the retention method, there can be a 0 and there can be 8 or 9 or 10, depending on the idea, right? So there are two methods. One is the deletion method and the other is the retention method. Let me explain some of the steps. Okay? In both these methods, we do these steps. These are very important. To when a passage is given to you, there are 4 steps actually we have, and the four steps, the first one is read slowly. Okay? And the second one is read the selection again. Let me explain them in detail as well. And the notes that you make in the second reading, it's actually try to construct your own sentences from those notes. Okay? And in the fourth, you have to read the selection again. What you have selected, you have to read it. Now, let me explain them in detail. The 4 steps are actually, and there is one thing more. There is no hard and fast rule for pressy writing. ठीक है? आप इसमें ये नहीं कह सकते कि आपने ये नहीं किया, वो नहीं किया. आपने you have to go on deletion method and retention method. It's no hard and fast rule. आपने प्रेस से लिखना है, आपने चाहे डिलीशन मेथड के साथ लिखना है, रिटेंशन मेथड के साथ लिखना है. But there are some steps that actually the teachers can provide to the students कि आप इस तरह कर सकते हैं, and it can make their press writing easy. But let me tell you that there is no a shortcut and magical shortcut कि आप उस प्रेस हम आपको बताएं और आप लोग उससे लिखना शुरू कर दें. ठीक है? It depends on actually on your understanding, the previous knowledge or the pre-knowledge, the language, or you can say it also depends on the vocabulary you have. ठीक है? आपके पास जितना अच्छा मतलब you have vocabulary, you can write a press in a good way or a proper way, because actually you can replace the words. आप जब words को replace कर सकते हैं किसी और लफ्ज़ के साथ. I mean like when there is one word substitution, when you know one word substitution कि अगर एक sentence है आप उसको एक लफ्ज़ के साथ कैसे substitute करते हैं या replace करते हैं, so you know how to write a press. ठीक है? But there are these steps that eventually we teach to the students, because as I said that there is no hard and fast rule and there is no magical shortcut, but actually these steps can help them, can help the students and can help even the teachers. When they follow these steps, they can actually write a good press. ठीक है? So the first one is read slowly the selection which you are going to summarize. The first thing is that when a passage is given to you, you have to read it slowly for the first time in order to get a broader idea of the passage. ठीक है? आपने यहाँ पे skimming नहीं करनी. Skimming is actually जब आप एक ideas को उसमें से important points निकालते हैं, right? In this particular stage, you need not to skim. You have to slowly read it, see exactly what every word is, and read every sentence through to the end. ठीक है? आपने हर एक sentence को पढ़ना है और हर एक sentence पे सोचना है, and then take the we can say you have to take the meaning as a whole. आपने जो जितना भी आपका passage है, you have to take the meaning as a whole. मतलब passage का जितना भी passage है उसका full मतलब आपने gain करना है. Forget everything else. When you are reading a passage, just focus on the passage. Do not focus on the title. Do not focus on the main idea. Do not focus on do not focus on the main ideas in the passage. और उसमें से आपने ये नहीं कहना कि मैंने ये points आपने add करने हैं. In the first reading you have to take the meaning as a whole कि उस passage का क्या मतलब है, ठीक है? So you have to forget everything else. You have to concentrate all your attention to find that the author is what the author is driving at. वो author क्या कह रहे हैं इस passage में? So it's actually what the passage really means. Like you should not take notes from at this stage. You should focus on the passage as a whole कि उसका क्या मतलब बनता है, ठीक है? Sometimes it happens when students start reading the passages which are provided to them, they make a mistake at the but because they when they start reading they just point out the things कि मैंने तो ये लिखना है, अच्छा ये बहुत important topic है, ये बहुत important idea है, ये मैं title दे सकता हूँ. Just don't focus on that. Do not skim. आप उसको read कर ले and just go along with the writer. अपने writer के साथ जाना है, ठीक है? कि writer क्या कह रहा है इस passage में till the end और हर एक sentence को end तक पढ़ना है. क्योंकि समटाइम जब हम पढ़ना शुरू कर देते वी डू नॉट रीड द होल सेंटेंस, लेकिन हम बस पढ़ते क्योंकि हमें लगता है कि टाइम कम है. ठीक है, टाइम कम होता है, बट इवेंचुअली व्हेन वी मेक अ प्रेसे हम टाइम में लिखते हैं लेकिन हम गलत लिखते हैं, राइट? So you have to take the meaning in the first reading as a whole. You have to go along with the author or what the author is driving at. ठीक है, आपको कहाँ लेके जा रहे हैं गाड़ी में बिठा के, ठीक है? Read the selection again, right? So the second thing is that read the selection again. First reading में you take the meaning as a whole. Now you know the general idea. So in the second reading you know the general idea of the passage के उसमें उस idea किस चीज़ के बारे में है, whether it is about engineering, whether it is about art or literature, किस चीज़ के बारे में ये passage है. So that is a whole meaning of the passage, right? So the second thing is read the selection again, read the passage again actually. And now that you know in general what it is about, your task is to separate the essential points which you are to use, okay? So over here you have to take the points, separate points. Right? अपने यहाँ पे पॉइंट सेपरेट करने हैं, and especially the essential points. You have to separate the essential points, and because you are eventually going to talk about these points, and you have to use these points, right? So from the detail, I mean like the passage, you have to separate the essential points. And if the passage is short and fairly simple, you will not need sometimes like the passage are simply short, right? You need not to take some notes and things like that. You can retain that idea actually, okay? But if you feel that you will forget these points and then you have to read the passage again, try to write the points with you, ठीक है? लेकिन अगर आपको लगता है कि आप पॉइंट्स नहीं बोलते, दैट्स एक्चुअली अ वेरी शॉर्ट पैसेज, अगर लॉन्ग भी है, अगर आप नहीं बोल सकते, सो डू नॉट राइट दैट, यू हैव टू रिटेन इट इन योर माइंड. लेकिन अगर आप रिटेन नहीं कर सकते एंड यू फील दैट यू विल फॉरगेट इट एवेंचुअली, सो ट्राई टू राइट दोज पॉइंट्स इन योर नोट्स और मेक नोट्स, ठीक है? Now, the third point is with these notes, what you need to do is that just keep these notes with you. Remove the original passage. Keep these notes with you. Keep the notes only. Okay. Now read the notes only. it's actually the final thing that over here you have to start drafting what is there in the essay. So start writing few sentences. Okay, start writing few sentences while looking at the notes, and if you can retain the idea in your mind, you need not to look at even the notes, right? Start constructing the sentences. So it's actually in the third step, it's actually the practice. You have to practice the sentences, and you have to write the sentences. I mean, like, the first sentence is the topic sentence, when then you have to detail, you have to give the detail, and then the we can say the concluding sentences. Okay, so it's not necessary that the passages that you have you are given. Okay, it's not necessary that the passage you are given for the we can say the essay writing or comprehension वो एक linear है, but while you are writing the essay you can go for a linear paragraph. Okay, you have to take the same tone and mood of the author, but आप linear में भी लिख सकते हैं. ठीक है, then you have to practice. So the third step is actually the practice, and it's actually the writing thing. In the fourth one is you have to read the selection, और उसमें फिर आपने अपने like for example what you have written in the third step, उसको आपने उसके साथ compare करना है. Like you have to compare. उसमें एक idea ऐसा तो नहीं है जो आपने left out किया है. ठीक है, so in the fourth step it's actually I'm sorry, you have to see that आपने पूरे जितने भी सारा information है आपने उसमें include किए हैं कि नहीं किए हैं. ठीक है, so look for all the information. In the fourth step, it's actually you compare your stuff that you have written in the third step, and comparing it with the notes, or comparing it with the original passage that you have read. Okay, so these are the 4 steps that you have to follow. Now, if you have noticed one thing, I said that it's not necessary that when a passage is given to you, it can be a linear one. ठीक है, इसमें linear नहीं हो सकता. इसमें कुछ ऐसे पैराग्राफ्स आप लोग को दिए जाते हैं. प्लीज स्विच ऑफ योर माइक. ठीक है, so sometime you are given passages. Let me tell you, कुछ passages ऐसे होते हैं when they are provided to you in the comprehension, to comprehend it or to write a essay, it doesn't mean that they will always be linear. Linear का क्या मतलब है? Linear का मतलब है that when we have a topic sentence, उसके बाद हमारे पास 2-3 sentences detail के sentence है, and then we have concluding sentence, तो वो हमारे पास linear paragraph बन जाता है, या we can also call it a linear passage. ठीक है, so it's not necessary linear नहीं हो सकते. There are actually 4 types of paragraphs. There are 4 types of paragraphs on the basis of its structure. ठीक है, so या passages या paragraphs की मैं यहाँ पे बात करती हूँ. So there are 4 types of paragraphs on the basis of its structure. ठीक है, there are many types of paragraphs on the basis of its purpose, that for which purpose you are writing, whether it is you want to persuade something, you want to describe something, explain something, or it is a description है या कोई भी चीज है. So on the basis of that we have so many types of paragraphs. We can call it descriptive paragraph, persuasive paragraph, expository paragraph, या explanatory paragraph. It's actually on the basis of the purpose, that for which purpose we are writing, whether we want to explain something, describe something, we try to persuade the people. So we write a paragraph, we try to persuade the people, or persuade them to take your opinion, or things like that. या फिर argumentative हो सकते हैं. But there are 4 types of paragraphs on the basis of its structure. There are actually 2. लेकिन उसमें जब when we just study the structures of the paragraph, there are 4. ठीक है, there are actually 2. We can call it inductive paragraph, and deductive paragraph. Okay, inductive and deductive paragraphs are those paragraphs. In inducing or induction is actually when you start a paragraph with the least important idea and you get to the most important idea. ठीक है, आप किसी चीज के बारे में बात करते हैं लेकिन आप उससे पहले एग्जांपल्स और इलिस्ट्रेशंस के थ्रू उसको एक्सप्लेन करते हैं एंड देन यू कम टू द मेन पॉइंट, तो उसको हम कहते हैं इंडक्टिव पैराग्राफ. Some of the paragraphs are deductive paragraph. Deduction is actually when you start with the shoot the main idea in the start of the paragraph, then you go with the examples and illustrations up. For example, आप किसी सॉफ्टवेयर के बारे में बात करते हैं, आप कहते हैं this is a very important one or this is very important for engineers to learn. तो that's actually a very main idea. फिर आप उसको एक्सप्लेन करते हैं कि why it is important, तो आप लॉजिकल रीजनिंग्स और इलस्ट्रेशंस और एग्जांपल के थ्रू आप बताते हैं that why this is important. इंडक्टिव पैराग्राफ में आप क्या कहते हैं, स्टार्ट विद द इलस्ट्रेशंस के the software is important in these ways, और फिर आप लास्ट में कहते हैं कि that's why it's very important for the students to learn it or to use it or things like that. तो उसको हम कहते हैं inductive paragraph. It's actually an example. Okay, let me draw some pictures for you people. Not pictures actually, लेकिन उससे आपको पता चलता है कि sometimes the paragraphs are not linear or they can be inductive or deductive, but there are four we can say structures of the paragraphs that you will see when a passage is provided to you. Most of the time the students do not understand, because when you see these structures you will understand why you don't understand that particular paragraph or passage. Okay, so right, so actually there are these are the structures. Right, so these are the structures of the paragraph. आप मुझे सुन रहे हैं?
Yes, miss.
Yes, ma'am.
आप लोग को समझ आ रही है जो मैं बोल रही हूँ?
Yes, ma'am.
जी मैम.
So see, this is the first paragraph where the main idea, for example, take this dot as a main idea. Okay, where the main idea, or we can say the statement, lies in the start of the paragraph. Okay, so it's a deductive one, and then the writer moves on illustrations and examples and do a logical reason for justification of this idea or the statement that he or she makes at the start of the paragraph. So see, if we sometime in a paragraph we have the main idea lies in the start of the paragraph, so it can be a very linear paragraph, क्योंकि important idea बिल्कुल start में है तो बंदे को समझ आती है कि what the topic is about or what the passage is about. ठीक है, क्योंकि then there are examples and illustrations तो बंदे को समझ आती है. Some of the paragraphs are like the writer starts with examples and illustrations and things like that, and slowly and gradually getting to the main idea at the end of the passage. Okay, so it's not necessary कि आपका हमेशा main idea will be in the start of the passage. Okay, it can lies at the end of the passage. Okay, so these are some of the we can say examples of the passages that you can get while having when you are asked to write a essay. ठीक है? So इसमें sometimes the students get confused because when you start with the illustration and examples in the middle, you can stuck and you can take one example, it can be the main idea, but that's actually not the main idea. It's just for the logical reasons of the statement that you want to make at the end of the passage. Okay, so sometimes the main idea lies at the end of the passage, so it's not, it can be a linear one but from a bottom. Okay, and this one is a linear one from the start. Now some of the passage can be this one. The writer start with the main idea, right, and all of a sudden have examples and illustrations for that point, and in the middle there is a transition, and the writer then again gradually gets to the main idea again at the end of the paragraph, okay, or the passage. So in this type of paragraph it can be very difficult one, because when you give a clue of the main idea, all of a sudden start with the illustration and examples, and then in the middle there is a transition, ठीक है, और transition के बाद again you the writer gets to the main idea at the end of the passage. Now some of the paragraphs can be a very generic one, okay, बहुत general paragraphs होते हैं, and they start with a generic idea. इस यहाँ पे आप देखें there is no idea, it starts with a very general idea, gets to the main idea in the middle, and then again with the illustrations and examples. So इसका जो main idea है it can lie in the middle of the passage. So these are the types, or we can say these are the structures of the passages on the basis of its main idea. And actually when we write the essay, the main thing that we focus on is the main idea, ठीक है, कि उस पैसेज का मेन आइडिया क्या है, then we can add the rest of the ideas, ठीक है, उसमें जितने भी important ideas है उसको हम conclude करते हैं, and then we start writing the passage. लेकिन जो बहुत important चीज़ है, that's actually the main idea, जो उस passage में as a whole क्या कहते हैं, या what the passage is revolving around, ठीक है, जो और the sentences of the passage are revolving around किस idea के इर्द गिर्द है, ठीक है. So these are actually the structures that you can get while when a passage is given to you while writing a essay. So that's why writing a essay is very there should be some tactics to learn, ठीक है, कि अगर आपके पास इस तरह का पैसेज आता है, ठीक है, तो you have to read and you have to understand कि उसका main idea किधर lie कर रहा है, ठीक है. So I hope now you understand that why essay writing is very difficult for the students, ठीक है, especially when in the competitive exams it's very difficult for the students. और essay और essay का पेपर हमेशा जो है वो students fail करते हैं. Why? Because this essay writing or these essay writing तो खैर वो तो practice की बात है, but essay writing में it's actually you have to understand the structure of the passage, और फिर you have to see that how can you take the important notes and then you can write it in your own words, ठीक है. So I hope it is clear now. इतना यहाँ तक आप लोग को clear है, ठीक है. क्लियर है?
Yes, miss.
ठीक है. तो यहाँ तक आप लोगों को अगर क्लियर है, सो लेट मी स्टार्ट विद वन पैसेज. एक पैसेज का मैं आज कर देती हूँ क्योंकि टाइम कम है. फिर देख लेंगे सेकंड पैसेज का नेक्स्ट उसमें क्लास में. एंड इफ यू कैन अरेंज अ क्लास इन दिस वीक. ये बहुत इजी है तो आप ये खुद कर लें. दिस वन, ठीक है. I'm sharing this screen with you and I have uploaded as well. Could you please read it for 3 minutes? सो प्लीज स्टार्ट रीडिंग इट फॉर 3 मिनट्स. 3 मिनट के लिए आप पढ़ लें, फिर मैं आप लोग को बताती हूँ.
ओके मैम. मैम ये तो गायब हो गया.
पढ़ लिया पढ़ लिया आप लोगों ने?
जी मिस।
कुछ समझ आई?
यस मिस।
मैम आपने अचानक बोला डरा दिए।
क्या बोला? यही कि आप लोगों ने पढ़ लिया।
मैम
हाँ
इसमें
हंसी।
थोड़ी अजीब सी लैंग्वेज यूज हुई है, थोड़ी मुश्किल लैंग्वेज है। मैम प्लीज थोड़ा डिस्प्ले कर दे फिर। ये क्या यार, मैम ने तो लेफ्ट कर दिया है। एक मिनट पूछता हूँ।
अच्छा लिसन टू मी। मुझे लगता है मेरी कनेक्शन लास्ट हुई उसमें। आई लॉस्ट माय कनेक्शन इन द मिडल। आप लोग को मेरी आवाज आ रही है?
यस
जी
मैम।
मिस।
जी
जी
मैम,
जी
जी मैम।
ठीक। तो लेट मी शेयर द स्क्रीन अगेन। जो आप लोग की अब्दुल रहमान, यू वर सेइंग दैट यू आर हैविंग अ क्लास एट 10। तो मुझे
यस
नहीं
मैम।
लगता ये 2-3 मिनट में ये मैं कर सकती हूँ, क्योंकि आई हैव टू एक्सप्लेन इट दैट हाउ कैन यू राइट द सेंटेंसेस, हाउ कैन यू मेक द नोट्स। तो you can arrange another class for me, that will be very kind of you.
ठीक है मैम, मैं फिर आपको बता दूंगा टाइम टेबल
ठीक
देख
है,
के।
सही, ठीक ठीक। सो फार आप लोग को जो भी चीज़ें मैंने अभी पढ़ाई है, आप लोग को उसकी समझ आई है दैट हाउ टू राइट अ प्रेसे, एटलीस्ट थोड़ा सा आइडिया हुआ होगा, ठीक है? And when we will write the preface for this passage, you will understand that how can we write the preface. तो इससे बहुत आप लोगों को आसानी हो सकती है that how can you write, at least आप लोग को आइडिया हो जाएगा that how a preface is written, ठीक है? So I think it's enough. Let me stop the recording, and thank you so much for listening to me.